In the past weeks, we have each and every one of us experienced a collective reality shift that has turned our world and our lives upside down, both figuratively and for many, literally. For those who have suffered illness or worse, death, and their loved ones who've been forced to navigate the immensely difficult choices that come as a result. To those who've lost work or who've suffered financially, who find themselves and their families in deeply precarious positions. From those who have put their lives on the line as essential workers, willingly placing their own lives at great risk for the welfare of everyone else. To the families of those essential workers who worry about them, but also worry about themselves with the risks that are brought home. From those whose identities were enmeshed in their activities and work outside of their homes, all of which is now gone, left to wonder who they are without them. To those who find themselves put in categories of vulnerable, who never thought of themselves in that way before. From those whose work or school and home lives used to be completely separated and are now blurred together under the confines of one roof. To those whose lives on the surface don't seem so different from reality now, but who know that now everything is different. For each and every one and more. What we had all hoped would be a short-term discomfort has grown into the potential of a much longer-term reality with a duration none of us can know. And in that, what had begun as adjusting to a situational, temporary discomfort has evolved into just what life is now. We are entering into a new phase of this, a phase of stasis. And if you are like most humans, this is the place when habituation sets in, the place of throwing up our hands, resigning ourselves to do what we need to do to endure this, with our best hopes that at its end, we will be able to return to life as it used to be. That powerful yearning for the good old days we humans tend to turn to in moments of great upheaval and change. But of course, the truth is, and we all know this deep down, we can never go back. Judaism stresses this notion throughout so much of our tradition, in particular in the meta-narrative of our Exodus story, the one in which our people will be immersed for the next 7 weeks as we journey from Passover to Shavuot, from the narrow, constricted place of enslavement in Egypt to the wide open spaciousness of revelation at Mount Sinai. Consider this incredible midrash from the Piazetzner Rabbi, Kalonymus Kalman Shapira, best known as the Rabbi of the Warsaw Ghetto. As an aside, many of his most important works were preserved because of the work of an incredible group called Oyneg Shabbos, Jews who worked secretly to keep records and testimonies of life in the ghetto. Just before the ghetto was liquidated, they hid and buried the entirety of their archive in milk canisters in the hopes their contents would be preserved and one day found, which they were, enabling so many incredible records, testimonies, and teachings to be brought back to life in this world again. Here is the Piazetzner Rebbe's teaching. Throughout their 400 years enslaved in Egypt, the Jews would sing the song of the sea every Shabbat, every week, rehearsing their redemption song in the midst of their affliction, preparing for the day they would one day be free. They had no idea when or even if that day would come, they only knew that if ever they were to be freed, they would be ready for it. Able to discern the most essential ways of being, even amidst the constricted reality of enslavement, the ancient Israelites enacted their freedom and the experience of being redeemed. Even amidst the most constricted of experiences, our ancestors knew they had a choice to accept reality as it was, to lower their sight lines and endure, or to lift up their eyes and see the potential and promise beckoning in the distance. And if they couldn't see it themselves, they could yet imagine a new hope on the horizon, the possibility of something different and better that would surely arise someday. It was in that place of practicing freedom, still amidst incredible limitation, that our ancestors chose to reject becoming accustomed or accommodated and instead prepared for a better reality, prepared themselves not just to be ready, but to be better for whatever would unfold in the future. You're likely familiar with the oft-recited quote from Viktor Frankl, that everything can be taken from a person but one thing, the last of human freedoms, to choose one's attitude, to choose one's own way. It's such a powerful teaching. But on this matter, you may be surprised to know that Frankl said more, much of which is often left unquoted, but which well articulates the choice we have in front of us all the time, even when our world is upside down. He wrote, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. Our response lies in our growth and in our freedom." Frankl reminds us that even in the most tight and constricted spaces, we still have the potential to grow, evolve, to become and even be better. All of this not at some distant, unknown point or destination in the future, and not for the sake of going back to how things used to be, but because our lives and our actions count right here, right now, regardless of whether or not our reality is flipped or righted. Each and every one of us has this opportunity to create a space between stimulus and response, to reject the formation of habit and reactivity for the sake of mere survival, and instead seek out and cultivate our own personal and spiritual growth in the hopes of transforming and thriving as we prepare ourselves for the new, God-willing, better future that rests on the horizon. Consider the incredible opportunity of this moment in which we find ourselves. With nearly everything in flux, we have the incredibly rare collective chance to check our previously held assumptions, habits, activities, priorities, behaviors. And at least for most of us, the rare gift of time to engage in the work of discerning what is most essential in our lives, and then of practicing personal change in order to align our lives and that of our families around what is most fundamental, abandoning the extraneous, the chametz, as it were, that we so often otherwise allow to occupy or even define who we are and what we do. Over the last few weeks, many of you have asked me what the deepest wisdom or truth is in this experience from which we can draw strength. For me, it is this: COVID-19 has forced every one of us to confront what we, your clergy, see and understand all the time. That nothing is promised, that life can change in an instant, and that there is very little that we can do to change that reality. However, it is because of that very reality that we can be compelled to stop waiting to live our best lives, to be our best selves at some other moment along the way that might seem better timed or more convenient. The only moment ever, and this is the truth, is this moment right now. And the only place of our real agency, our power, our real freedom is in our response to this moment. Not the moment from yesterday, not the moment tomorrow, but this one, right here, right now. This day, this second full day of Passover, and really every day, we have a choice to make. Will we be our own enslavers or our own redeemers? Will we be who we always were, or will we rise to be the best of who we are and who we can be? As we move forward together in this time of great uncertainty, I pray we will choose not to trudge through hunkered down in our discomfort, but rather to stand upright, eyes fixed on the horizon line, even amidst unprecedented challenge, and sing our song of redemption together.